Hello 8th graders. This is chapter 6.4b lesson on using equations to find the whole and the percent. Now in 6.4a we used equations to find the part. Today we're going to be working with equations to find the whole and the percent. It does take an extra step or so it's going to be very similar. Now just as with proportion equals percent over 100 equals part over whole, remember that with equations we have percent as a decimal or a fraction times the whole equals the part. And that's something you have to memorize, you have to know. Just like you have to know percent over 100 equals part over whole when we're doing proportions. In order to do these problems, I really encourage you to get your mind around asking yourself 3 questions when you examine the problem, whether it's a problem that's just written out of what is 50% of 20, or if it's written out in a story problem. There's 3 main questions you really need to ask yourself. These aren't bad questions to ask whenever you're doing a percent problem, whether it's proportion or equation. Do you know the percent? Do I know the whole? Do I know the part? Now if I look at my first problem here, 60 is 48% of what number? Here's my percent. There's that word of, which tells me not only to multiply, but the next thing is supposed to be the whole. So yes, I know the percent, 48%. Do I know the whole? No, I do not. Then I have to look for some form of that verb is. Am, was, were, have been, will be. There's is. That means this is the part. Now remember, sometimes it's going to be the part is, or sometimes it'll have it at the end, over here where it'll say is 60. In this case, I do know the part. Now I'm going to use that percent as a decimal or a fraction times the whole. I don't know the whole. It's going to be a variable. Equals, remember is also means your equals is coming, 60. Now 8th graders, if you see that, you should recognize immediately that you have a one-step equation and it's multiplication, so we need to divide both sides by 0.48. N is going to equal 125. Now if you want to check yourself, take your 0.48 times the 125. Do you get 60? So take 0.48 times 125. Whoops, better write it correctly. Do you get 60? If you do, then you should have done the problem correctly. Okay. Here's example B. It's very much like A, so hit pause, and you try B. This is how B should look. Let's look at C because the wording is a little different this time. This time, here's that of, so here's my whole. Here's my is, so this is my part. But looky, what percent? I don't know the percent. This time, I'm going to take the percent, which I don't know, which is n, times my whole, which is 64. I'm going to put the 64 out front because I prefer my coefficient in front of my variable. Is equals, also part's coming, 8. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 64. And many of you should recognize that 8 over 64 is 1/8, so that means it's going to be 12.5%. Now, if you're going to do this, you gotta watch out. Because if you just divide 8 by 64, you're going to get 0.125. But remember, we need the percent. 1, 2. Another way of getting around that is to take 8, divide by 64, get your second function key, then find that percent key, and it's different on different calculators. On some calculators it's above the one bracket, and on another calculator it's above the 2. Now if you have a 30XA, it's above the 2. If you have a Roman numeral 2XS, it's above a bracket that looks like this, I believe. And then up here it says percent. You have to hit that second function key first. Then you press equals, and your answer should come out to 12.5. So try that. 8 divided by 64, second function key, percent key, equals. And again, you really got to think, I'm trying to find percent here, so I need to have that percent key, or that percent sign rather, excuse me, as my label. Now, hit pause and you try D. Alright class, here's what you should have gotten, 55.5%. If you did not choose to use your second function percent key process, you're going to get 0.555. Remember, you'll need to shift your decimal point. That's a lot to remember, so why not learn to use your percent key? 111 divided by 200, second function key, percent key, equals 55.5. Don't forget to write your percent sign. Let's look at a story problem. In this particular problem, Fern receives a 3% commission on a real estate sale. Now we dealt with commissions in 64A. And in 64A, I told you that the commission itself is a part. Now, it says she received a 3% commission on a real estate sale. If she earned $4,365 in commission, so that is the amount of the commission, therefore it is the part. We want to know the amount of the sale. Now if you remember back to when we first started with proportions, I said that the whole can be the amount of a sale. So here's my percent, here's my part, here is my whole. Do I know the percent? Yes, I do. 0.03. Do I know the whole? No, I do not. That's going to be an N. Do I know the part? Yes, I do. 4,365. Again, I have a one-step multiplication equation. I'm going to divide both sides by 0.03. Now here's where, too, you have to be thinking. You're not finding percent because they gave you the percent in the problem. Think, think, think. Are they asking you to find the percent in the story problem? No, they're not. They're asking you to find the amount of the sale. So this time, I don't use that second function key, percent key, equals, because I'm not finding percent. I'm going to take just 4,365 and divide by 0.03. And I must have sold something, or Fern must have sold something that was worth $145,500, which today is probably not a big price for a piece of real estate. Now, let's look at F. Fred wrote a bestseller. The book earned $2,250,000 in the first month, but Fred only earned $45,000. Look at my question. What percent royalty did Fred earn? Now, a royalty is what they call a commission type amount, based on the sale of a book or on showing a television program or a movie. For example, a lot of stars on television programs earn royalties when they show reruns of the television program. Let me think. What's one I could think of real easily? well, let's say the Andy Griffith Show. That show is still earning money for the people who were in the show or for their heirs because they're probably getting a certain percent of royalty. Now, Fred earns $45,000. We just don't know the percent. This has to be the part, because obviously $2 million is a whole lot bigger, and it's going to be the whole. So, knowing that, you hit pause and set it up, and then we'll go over it. Did you get it set up? Now, we're going to divide both sides by the 2,250,000. Now think it through, ladies and gentlemen. This time I do want the percent, so I am going to use my percent key. 45,000 divided by 2,250,000. Second function key, percent key, equals 2%, which is a very common amount of royalty. This concludes lesson 6.4b. Catch ya later.